Okay, so this is in response to somebody's request to show you guys how to draw stairs in elevation when you're cutting a section, when you have multiple sets of stairs, multiple floors, all sort of in a line, so I'm looking ahead at them. It's not as complicated as you think. Hopefully this won't take too long. As you can see, I've got a plan that I've drawn that's a regular plan. It's not a whole lot different than the ones I've drawn before. I do step up into this first floor here from the ground outside. Because those stairs are behind us, we're not really going to look at that because our section cut, as you can see, is here through this aperture on the first floor. I do have apertures on the second floor here. I step up into that 4 steps, and then I step up into a third floor, and I have apertures there and one beyond. Now I will see this because it will be in elevation, and the first, second, and third floors will all share the same ceiling and roof. So I'll see that aperture way back there, but because I'm cutting at the first floor, these apertures in the second and third floor are in the wall behind this cut, and so I won't see those. I'm going to show you how that works. Now this takes a little bit of time to see how to create this elevation regulating line matrix, and really all I'm doing is just using an overlay, and I'm drawing those first 4 steps from the ground up to the first floor, and then from there I have my sill and my header drawn for my first floor because I'm going to need it. But then right from the first floor I have the 4 steps that I've laid out, and that brings me to my second floor, and you can see I've got the first floor circled and the second floor circled. Now in that line I also have the sill and the header. Even though I don't really need them, I have those measured out for that second floor just so that you can see it, just in case. And then I have the stairs again going up to my third floor from that second floor. Those stairs are just in one after the next in elevation, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, etc. As many as you see. We'll talk about how to draw them conventionally in terms of line weights, but in terms of elevation, it's just one stacked on top of the next. My third floor, because I'm going to see that the elevation of that aperture beyond, I have drawn my sill, my header, and then I've got the ceiling and the roof because the ceiling, the roof from that third floor is going to extend out all the way over that first floor down here. Okay, so all I need to do really is take my registration lines up. I'm going to ride along this line and I'm going to see where I intersect. Obviously it's a regular plan, so my intersection points are really these 2 apertures here. Okay, so I'm just going to pull those registration lines up for that wall. All right. Now again, those steps that are down here are behind me, so I'm not going to draw them in, but I have to think about their elevation for the first floor. So I'm cutting through the first floor. I'm just not going to see those steps. Okay? So my first floor is there. Technically, at this point, well, let me draw the registration lines. That aperture I made exactly the same width as my stairs, just to make this sort of easy. And now technically my section is drawn, and I just have to clarify it. So I'm going to come in from my ground over here. I'm going to go up to my first floor. I'm going to go up to my sill for my first floor. I'm going to come across. I'm going to come back down to my first floor. I'm going to come over. I'm going to go up to that first floor sill again and down to the ground, and I'm out. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. I have to think about the header for the first floor, but the ceiling and the roof for the third floor. So I'm going to find that header, which is here, for the first floor, but I want to go all the way up to the roof and the ceiling for the third floor. Okay? Now, like I said, in here you'll find those other apertures, but we don't see them because they're behind the wall. And technically that section is drawn, but I just need to clarify it. without all the registration lines, so you can see the steps. And you can see that aperture at the top on the third floor. So I'm just going to draw around, get that roof package, and those walls down to the headers. Sill on the first floor. Again, I do not see the stairs in that are behind me. I'm using yellow trace paper now. I'm out of white. I can't buy white until tomorrow, so please let me know if this is a distraction. I'll notice in a minute. Hopefully you won't notice it at all. Now that's my section. It's drawn. Okay. Now I have my second floor that I'm going to see here, and I might as well draw that in. It's just a line. It's basically you're looking at a wall, and it has these stairs that, in plan, these stairs and that line are here. And so you will see those stairs just like that, side of the stairs there. You can see that translating up. Now, technically this next floor should be drawn lighter because it is further back. These steps are further back than those steps. These steps are further back than those steps. That floor line, which now will look like a wall in elevation, is further back than that line, and so it should be drawn lighter. Everything back here, including that window, should even be drawn lighter than that. Okay? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find my third floor line, which is here. Now it looks like it's in the middle of that aperture, but you can see it's not. It's not even connected with that. It's just further back in space, and so that wall actually intersects with a wall further back in the section. This aperture is here, and it's nowhere near this wall, right? It just collapses in sections, so it looks like that. Now I've got these 4 steps in here, okay, which again I'm going to draw, and they're all the same elevation, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, and the sides of them, now it looks like a ladder or a continuous set of stairs. The line weights here that should be lighter will differentiate them from the line weights here because this bottom step is closer to me and that's further away from me, okay? That's my third floor, and then I have my sill for my window, and I have my third floor header, which is here, okay? The interesting thing now that we see is that the sill for my third floor coincidentally is at the same height as the header for my first floor, which is interesting, but it's not necessarily designed that way. The system doesn't necessarily work out the way it meant. It depends on the number of stairs that you have. And so that is what that section will look like when I have multiple sets of stairs, multiple floors leading up to a higher level. The stairs really just look like a continuation, but these line weights should be heavier than these line weights, and that should be the lightest because it's so far back. These are just the sort of surfaces of walls that we're seeing in elevation beyond.